Okay. This is my little, I don't know, not explanation, bio on Anakin Skywalker. A lot of people, like when I talk to them and stuff about all the Star Wars stuff and stuff, everybody brings up the prequels and why they were bad and all this stuff. Nobody really ever gives an explanation. The most thing I hear is they didn't like Anakin, they didn't like the acting. Anakin was whiny. I'm gonna go ahead and explain Anakin Skywalker to you. I'm not gonna put any kind of bias. I'm just gonna explain the story, and then you can go from there and stuff. And it's not about him necessarily not being whiny or him or whatever. Anakin was a slave on a desert world. I don't think it gets worse than that as far as being a slave. Like, that's the worst place you can have to be a slave in. He was a slave until he was 9 years old on a planet that the rest of the galaxy doesn't care about. Outer rim planets, they just govern themselves. They don't get any kind of love. So you hear about these people that have these special powers or whatever and stuff and can do anything. The Jedi. On the outer rim planet at 9 years old, that's just a fairy tale. That's like you as a person, you at 9 years old, somebody, the tooth fairy. What was it? You wake up at night and the tooth fairy is there actually putting money under your pillow. You're like, oh my god, that's really a thing. That's the idea. The idea of that stuff will be the same in the sense that it's just person that you will never actually expect to see. Yeah, but I guess that comes a little bit later and stuff. He's a slave. He's there with his mom. This man has no dad. He's just a kid living like crap as a slave. So the Jedi come and are like, "Oh my God, you're crazy strong. We're gonna take you away from here and not be a slave anymore. You're not gonna be on this stupid planet. You're not gonna be a slave." You can't help but feel like, okay, that's a bit of pressure to have to live up to. Because they didn't just come and be like, okay, we're gonna take you and you're gonna be a Jedi or get trained or whatever. They're like, oh my God, you might be the end all be all of Jedi. You might be the thing to save all life, as it were. Because as far as the Force is concerned, the Force is the makeup of life. Like the ability to use the Force, the connection to the Force is midi chlorians and whatnot stuff. That's what allows you to use it, to feel it. But it exists outside of that. It's the Force, and those are the people that can just connect to it, the Jedi. So you're there being a slave. Some people come and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna take you out here. You're gonna be this wonderful thing to the galaxy. You're gonna be one of the most important things to the entire galaxy." It's a lot of pressure. These people are taking you away. You feel that, okay, but they're taking you away from your mom, the only family you have. The second closest person to family you have is Watto, this horrible bug that's pretty much like your drunk uncle. That's what the equivalent is to him and stuff. Just some guy who's there to get on your nerves and be crap to you. Short of molestation, that's his role. So he has to leave his mom, and I mean us as people who live here or wherever you live, I guess whatever. So just as people, your connection to your mom is generally very tight. Even if you don't like her or not even that closest like that, you generally love her. I mean, again, I know a lot of people that have strained relationships with their moms, so it's iffy on whether I want to go there or not. But at that age, we'll go with that. At 9, it's very rare to hate your mom as much as a lot of adults tend to now. Life is hard, stuff happens, whatever. He didn't. He didn't. He loved his mom. He was very close with his mom. It was the only family he had. It was all he had. Not just the only family, it was all he had. So he has to leave them. He goes becomes a Jedi or whatever stuff. But the guy who actually made that connection, told him how important he was, dies. This man knew him for less than like a week, but was almost family just because of what he did for him. Because you can talk about stuff how other Jedi were there, whatever, stuff like that. Let's face it, Anakin would have just died on that planet as a slave had Qui-Gon specifically not came and got him. Because if any other Jedi would have came and found him, they would have left him there. He was too old. It wouldn't even matter to them how strong he was in the Force. And it's like, oh, too bad. And it would have a wrap. Even though Qui-Gon didn't make it back to there and didn't actually do any of the training, he still played a very important role, and it needed to be him to get Anakin off that planet and there. So he dies. So somebody who he made a deep connection with, somebody who you might compare to family, just because of how little people he actually did have. That connection might have been a lot stronger than someone else who wasn't a slave and didn't have a dad. So he goes to the Jedi Temple and all this stuff. And the Jedi's ways are you don't have attachments. So your mom, your slave mom, who's still a slave back on that dirt planet that you left, that you owe everything to because she's your mom, forget her. She's gone now. She might as well be dead because she doesn't matter now. She is not a thing. Because now you're on Coruscant, and those outer rim planets are their own problem. They solve their problems. They don't got nothing to do with you now at this point. They don't have any missions on the outer rim planets. No, they're like, oh, well, they have crime. What do you want from us? We got better things to do. We live on Coruscant. Be for real. So, meanwhile, he's like, hey, that doesn't matter. Disattach yourself. So any feelings that he had about his mom or anything like that, he had nobody to talk to. Everybody who was at the temple already had been trained from birth to be like that. So it's not like he could go and sneak off with another kid and be like, oh, well, let me talk to you about some stuff. No, they would have been like, that's an attachment, don't do it, and walked away. That's the most interaction he would have got on that topic from anybody, even Obi-Wan and stuff, who was essentially his father at that point. More like an older brother, I guess I would have to say, because he was young himself, and yeah. And so he never got a chance to express anything about this like that. So it's just boiling up in him because it's not something you actually forget. He was 9 years old. That's enough to have information on life in general. That's enough experience with something and not forget your mom. You don't just lose an attachment like that, especially if you don't actually have a reason. Their reason was because, not necessarily and stuff. Their reasoning was because the attachment will lead to things when you lose that attachment. But either way, he was losing that attachment. He had that. He had that attachment already. Now, just lose it now. Whereas the point of the Jedi stuff was don't get that attachment so that it won't be a problem when it inevitably leaves, because all things do. So yeah, so never got to tell you. So leaves that stuff. Padme, whether you want to see it or not, or believe it or not, it's like that. He was in love with this girl. Now you're like, okay, he was 9 years old and stuff. He just saw a pretty girl, and be that as it may, he saw this pretty girl that he considered himself in love with, and then again, just like with his mom and the attachment and stuff, never got to talk about it. Just went to this place and was just like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna stir in this until 18, because that's when the Attack of the Clones came out. He was 18 then. So for all that time since he met a Padme and lost his mom, all he had to think about, or all he had to do on those subjects, was think about them to himself. And so the attachment to them never goes away. If anything, it gets stronger because you never have any outlet for it. It's just you. And of course, if you feel like you love this person and you're the only person you can talk to about it, then it's just you telling yourself over and over that you love this person or that you miss this person in the case of Shmi, his mom. So, between episode 1 and episode 2, he's busy trying to be the best Jedi he can be. Again, he feels like he owes these people and stuff. Like they took him away from this horribly crappy life. He owes these people. He needs to be and again, he might be the most single important thing in the universe, in the galaxy. So it's not something he wants to take lightly. You got this thing and stuff, and it's like he doesn't feel the force and whatnot and stuff. He gets trained to use it. So of course, as he's training, he can feel what they're actually talking about as far as how strong he is. So he's doing everything in his power to live up to this title, but it's an impossible title because they don't even have a real definition for it. They don't know what bring balance to the force means. So when you get that title of stuff of hey, bring balance to the force, you don't know what it means. They don't know what it means. So as far as you know, you're just here trying to be the best thing ever to exist in this scenario, the situation and stuff. I mean, it's like somebody coming in your house right now and stuff and being like, "Hey, you need to save the universe." And you're like, "From what?" You're like, "We don't know." Like, "How?" "We don't know." But you need to do it. Going, what is that? What is that? But of course, you want to save the universe. You still want to be that guy, that person. The universe needs saved, and if you're the one who's supposed to do it, then of course, hey, I'll get ready and with the what I can is I'll do what I need to do. But you got to figure out what that is. So you get a general view and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna need to be fit because I might have to do some physical stuff. I'm gonna need to be smart and have knowledge of the universe so that when this comes around, I'll have knowledge. I guess a general knowledge anyway of what it might pertain to. It's not a lot. It's not a lot to go on. So you're busy trying to be the best Jedi you can. Here we come, an attack of the clones. He meets back up with Padme, and so now all these years and stuff, this girl that he's been in love with, again, only get to talk to himself about it. That much more in love with her. It's that much stuck in his mind because there's been nothing to tell him different. There's been nothing to talk him out of or anything. It's just him. So he meets her, and who knows how to approach her? Again, this is not stuff he has training on. At the time of his puberty, he would have been in a Jedi temple with a bunch of people who have no knowledge of how to do this. I would have to assume that pretty much everybody in there was virgins. Nobody's out there dating. Nobody's talking to themselves. There was a couple people and stuff who got secretly married and stuff. It came up, comic books, EU, stuff like this. Of course, he wasn't the only one who ended up having a girl and stuff. It happens, but you wouldn't know who. They have secret relationships outside of there. So it's not like he could go and seek out the people who do and then talk to these people about how to approach a girl or something like this. And it's not like he could really talk himself out of it because he still had that attachment. He still grew up with those attachments, and that was how he lived. That was how he experienced things, not the same as the people who grew up in a Jedi temple. So he's the whole movie and stuff. You can see he's trying to get with this girl, but he really has no idea how to go about it, other than just being blatantly obvious, blatantly honest. All he could do was lay everything on the table as far as how he felt, but you still have that nervousness. You're still a person. That stuff comes natural to people who grew up like he did in the world. That's not the Jedi Temple. So meanwhile, he's doing all this, and she's just shutting him down. And he's like, "Well, I'm not really trying to hear all that because it's all I really got. All I can do is the. I mean, she didn't even give him any decent reasons and stuff on why. It was just like, no, get out of my face." He's like, "Or yes." And I won't get out of your face, especially since he had to be around her and stuff the whole time. He's protecting all this stuff. All this stuff was kind of surrounding her as far as the beginning and how it started out. And so, of course, he's still trying and all this. They end up getting together and stuff like that, whatever stuff. She confesses all this love, whatever stuff. You don't get to see all that in the movie. You don't get to see all the connection that they did actually form with each other in the movie and stuff. It's kind of vague. It kind of glosses over it and stuff. They played in the field, whatever. You read the book and stuff, you get more of a feel for it and stuff. It's things that you can't really show in movies because how would you? Um, You can't see people's thoughts. They don't have thoughts bubbles. It's not pop up video. You can't see that kind of stuff. You can see it through acting, but at the same time, you need those scenes, and you only have so much time because you still got to get all the story on. The prequels are very story oriented and stuff like that. You had the original trilogy and stuff, and it gave you the action, it gave you story, but it was condensed. It wasn't as condensed. There we go. It wasn't as condensed because the stuff that you needed to know would come out over itself, whereas the prequels were a story of what made it to that. So you had to cover a lot, and so then that was part of the problem and stuff like that. It wasn't enough action. It wasn't. It was sci-fi in the sense of the way things looked. That was pretty much the most sci-fi thing. It looked really techy and futuristic, but it was just a lot of talking and storytelling because that's what it needed to be, because that's what it was. It was just filling you in on what happened before the original trilogy. How did things lead up to that point? How did Vader become Vader? Because that's pretty much what it is. Vader's story. The first 6 episodes are pretty much Vader's story. Once you add in the prequels, before that and stuff, you would assume it was about Luke, but Luke only did so much, really. I mean, he was just some person. He was only a thing because Anakin was a thing, and so like it. It still comes back to it being Anakin's story, but so it goes away whatever stuff. It tells you more whatever and stuff as far as everything. It explains a lot more and stuff as far as their connection and stuff, how they actually had feelings and stuff. Of course, his were obvious and stuff. Hers were not so much because she had to hold a lot of stuff back because she was more mature. She grew up in a situation and stuff, being a politician. So she knew what it was like and stuff to be in the spotlight and stuff. You can't just go after everything you want just because you want it. You got shit to do, stuff to do, and you don't got time for that. And the guy that likes you and stuff is somebody who can't even have a relationship. What's the point at that point? Stuff like, it's okay, you can talk all that stuff, but really you can't do any of that you're talking. You can like me, fine, like me, but like me in your situation because you can't go any further than liking me. Who it does nobody any good. She gave in all that stuff. Situation kind of prompted her to, was like, all right, well, we probably gonna die right now. Might as well get it out there, and all that happened. But it goes back to the whole Anakin thing and stuff, that attachment. For all that time in between episodes, he loved this girl, had nothing better to do but to tell himself how much he loved this girl, meets up with her, goes through all that, and then actually gets the girl. I mean, you go through all that to get a girl and get the girl. The attachment to that girl is gonna be really, really strong. You're not trying to lose her after that. Of course not. Like, I did all this to get her. I actually got her. Like, this is a dream come true. Like, I'm a fucking Jedi over here, and I got the girl that I've been going after since I knew what girls were. Life is awesome. Life is really awesome right now in a sense, because then at the same time, he was having these dreams about his mom being in trouble. The mom who he already have issues with, of course, and stuff, of attachment left. He left his mom on a desert planet being a slave. Meanwhile, you're going to help people across the galaxy. How much sense did that make to you and stuff? It's like, okay, I left my mom, but I'm going to help these people that I don't know at all. It becomes a bigger issue, especially with him feeling like he's supposed to be the hero that's supposed to be able to save everybody. How can I be that hero if I can't even save the people I know? And again, it's your mom. It's that much stronger. So meanwhile, while he's having all these visions, and these visions are getting stronger as they come, and it's a point of not just having dreams like we would have dreams. He's a Jedi. He's connected to something that's connected to everything. So when he's having a steady dream about something, it becomes a situation like, okay, this is not a dream. This is a warning. This is the Force telling me, hey, stuff is popping. Stuff is popping. Get there. So he goes, finds his mom. Wait. He goes to the planet, finds out his mom got married. She's not a slave. Yay. Only to find out that right before he came, she got kidnapped by some people and everybody's presuming her dead. He's like, you can't be serious right now. all these dreams I've been having, I should have been here. Again, it becomes a real big crisis of faith. Like, my goodness, did I just lose my mind when I could have saved her? I'm supposed to be the best thing in the galaxy. So he goes and manages to actually find her. He's like, no, she's not dead. Of course, nobody believes him and stuff. It's just a boy who wants his mommy to not be dead. Finds her. She's actually not dead. This moment is actually alive. All this time, I think it was like 3 months she was gone, and she's actually alive. He finds her, only for her to then be beaten all crazy and then die in his arms. All this time, all these years of not seeing her and stuff, all these dreams telling him he needed to go see her or that something was happening to her. He gets there, finds her, and then she dies in his arms. Now, him being this powerful Jedi, this warrior, because let's be honest and stuff, he's a deadly warrior who has those attachments and has anger because of these attachments that he's not been able to deal with. And so he kills everybody. Everybody up in that village. And again, the movie glosses over that because it's not that kind of movie. You can't show that kind of stuff. But the book told you everything. This man killed everybody, the women, the kids, all that stuff. And he gave you a little speech or whatever stuff. No, he did it. All the women and children that were in that little village and stuff went all into, they fled, of course, it's like that while he was killing all the men, into this one hut. He took a boulder and dropped it on the hut with all the women and children. Like, when I say he killed everybody. Not those little punk dogs and stuff that you got to see him cutting and stuff. No, he annihilated everybody there. And of course, he did this in a fit of rage and stuff. You know what I mean? He wasn't thinking it through, like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to kill these people now. He was like, boulder, and then was like, oh, man, probably shouldn't have did that.